My sister became my boss at Dad's funeral. You are fired from the company minus and evicted from the mansion. She smirked. She doesn't know I have proof of her embezzlement. I stood there in my black dress watching Sarah strut around the funeral reception like she owned the place. Well, technically now she did. The family company, the mansion. Everything Dad built over 30 years minus all under her control. I've already cleared out your office, she announced loudly enough for the board members to hear, and I expect the mansion keys on my desk by tomorrow morning. Her perfectly manicured hand gripped her champagne flute, a cruel smile playing on her red lips. The other executives averted their eyes, suddenly finding their shoes fascinating. These were the same people who'd watched me grow up in the company, who'd mentored me for the past 5 years while Sarah was off finding herself in Europe. You can't just throw me out, I said, keeping my voice steady. I am Chief Financial Officer. I built the Asian market division from scratch. Sarah laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. Oh, but I can. The board just voted minus unanimously, I might add. You are looking at the new CEO. She leaned in close, her whisper venomous. Did you really think Dad would pick you? The cautious little sister who never takes risks? I felt the USB drive in my purse grow heavier. The one containing 3 years of wire transfers, offshore accounts, and falsified reports minus all meticulously documented during my time as CFO. My dear sister had been bleeding the company dry while Dad was sick, too weak to notice the missing millions. You have 24 hours, Sarah declared, already turning away to charm some investors. Oh, and Claire, don't bother trying to contact the board. They're all, then let's say, heavily invested in my vision for the company's future. I watched her work the room, all brilliant smiles and practiced grace, the perfect grieving daughter stepping up to carry on her father's legacy. If only they knew the truth. My phone buzzed, a text from my contact at the sexake. Documents received, meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. I took one last look at my sister, raising my glass in a mock toast. As your moment, Sarah, I whispered. You've got about 18 hours left as CEO. The drive home to the mansion minus soon to be my former home minus was surreal. 25 years of memories lined these streets. Dad teaching me to ride my bike, Mom's garden parties before cancer took her, Sarah and I playing hide and seek in the maze-like halls of the family estate. Now it was just another asset for Sarah to strip and sell. I parked in the circular driveway one last time, studying the imposing facade of my childhood home. The movers Sarah hired were already loading my things into their truck, not even waiting for me to pack them myself. One final humiliation, but that was okay. Let her think she'd won. Let her think she'd won. Let her believe I was the same passive little sister who always backed down from confrontation. Tomorrow the sex would have their smoking gun. The FBI would have their warrant. She'd learn that sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous. I smiled, thinking of the evidence safely encrypted on my drive checkmate big sister. The mansion felt different that night. Every creak, every shadow seemed to mock me as I packed my essentials. Family photos caught my eye, minus Sarah and me at my college graduation, Dad teaching us both about business at his knee, Mom's last Christmas before the cancer. I slipped a few into my bag, leaving the frames empty. Miss Claire Maria, our housekeeper of 20 years, appeared at my doorway. Her eyes were red. I made you some tea. And she hesitated, glancing nervously down the hall. I overheard Miss Sarah on the phone earlier. She's planning to sell your mother's jewelry collection tomorrow. My hands froze over the suitcase, Mom's jewelry. The collection Dad had lovingly built over 30 years of marriage, pieces he'd chosen to mark every milestone in their life together. The collection that was supposed to be split between Sarah and me. She's meeting with a private buyer at 8 a.m., Maria whispered. Before you are even supposed to be out. I checked my watch, minus 11 p.m. The wall safe in Dad's study still had my fingerprint access. For now, thank you, Maria. I squeezed her hand. For everything. Making my way to Dad's study felt like a heist movie. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, sneaking around my own home while Sarah, the real thief, slept soundly in the master bedroom. The study still smelled like Dad's cigars. I pressed my finger to the safe's biometric scanner, holding my breath, a soft click. Inside, Mom's jewelry boxes were stacked neatly just as Dad had left them. As I carefully transferred the boxes to my bag, a manila envelope caught my eye. My name was written on it in Dad's shaky handwriting, minus dated just 2 weeks before his death. Inside was a letter and a key I'd never seen before. The letter was brief. Claire, if you are reading this, I am gone, and things aren't what they seem. The key opens a deposit box at First National. I am sorry I didn't tell you sooner about Sarah's activities. I was gathering proof, but time ran out. Trust your instincts, sweetheart. You always were the smarter one. Love. Dad, my hands trembled. Dad had known he'd been building his own case against Sarah. My phone buzzed again, minus another text from my sexy contact. Brent, everything you have. Meeting moved up to 8 a.m. I smiled grimly. Fam time as Sarah's jewelry buyer, the game was changing. I had Mom's jewelry, Dad's evidence, and my own documentation of Sarah's crimes. But most importantly, I had the element of surprise. Sarah always said I never took risks. Time to prove her wrong. I arrived at First National Bank at 7:30 a.m., Dad's key burning a hole in my pocket. The safety deposit box revealed exactly what I'd hoped for, minus, and so much worse than I'd feared. Detailed records of Sarah's embezzlement going back 5 years, offshore account numbers, emails between her and someone named Marcus discussing the systematic looting of our company. But the last document made my blood run cold. A private investigator's report dated 1 week before Dad's death. Photos of Sarah meeting with our biggest competitor CEO. The final page was a medical report suggesting Dad's cancer treatment had been tampered with. My phone rang. Maria, Miss Claire, she's furious about the jewelry. She's called the police, claiming you stole it. Her voice shook. But here is more. I overheard her on the phone with someone named Marcus. They're meeting at 7:45 to discuss accelerating the timeline, whatever that means. I checked my watch, 7:40 a.m. The cost bay across from our company headquarters was visible from where I stood. And there was Sarah, sliding into a booth with a man I recognized from the investigator's photos, minus the competitor CEO. My hand steady, I started recording with my phone. Through the window, I could see them examining documents, Sarah's signature, triumphant smirk, the handshake, the exchange of what looked like bank information. Send backup to 42nd and Madison. I texted my sec contact, Wizzy meeting in progress. I had 15 minutes until our scheduled meeting, 15 minutes to decide how much mercy my sister deserved. The evidence of her involvement in Dad's death wasn't conclusive, minus not yet. Did I release everything now or hold that card for later? Sarah emerged from the Classe Baye, straightening her designer suit. She spotted me across the street and froze. For a moment our eyes met through the morning traffic. I held up the safety deposit box key so she could see it. The color drained from her face. Game on, sis, I mouthed, turning toward the federal building. Behind me I heard her heels clicking rapidly on the pavement, racing to catch up, but she was too late. She always did underestimate how fast I could move when it mattered. The sex-size conference room felt colder than usual. Sarah burst in just as I finished, laying out the evidence accounts minus the offshore accounts, the competitor meetings, Dad's records, everything except the medical report. You little snake, she hissed. Messier smudged from her sprint across town, and Vith, the quiet, loyal daughter all these years, just to stab me in the back. I met her gaze steadily. Funny, that's exactly what Dad said about you in his final letter. The sexy investigators exchanged glances. One of them cleared his throat. Miss Walker, please take a seat. Your sister has provided some concerning documentation, Sarah smirk returned as she smoothed her hair. You really think you can prove anything? I've been running this company in all but name for years. The board trusts me. The shareholders love me. Show her. I nodded to the lead investigator. He pressed play on the recording from the Cluspiation. Sarah's voice filled the room. Once we transfer the patents, liquidate everything. I want this company stripped to the bones before quarter's end. Sarah's face went from confident to ashen in seconds, but she recovered quickly, her lawyer mask sliding back into place. That proves nothing. I was conducting legitimate business negotiations with our biggest competitor while hiding $50 million in offshore accounts. I pulled out Dad's private investigator's report. Want to explain these transfers too? For the first time, I saw real fear in my sister's eyes. She knew what else might be in that report. You wouldn't, she whispered. Try me. The investigators were watching our exchange like a tennis match. One was already making a call, probably to the FBI. Sarah's composure cracked. He was never going to let me run the company. 20 years of watching you be the perfect daughter, the chosen one. Even when I brought in triple the profits you did, it was always Claire this, Claire that. So you what, decided to sell us out? I stare everything Dad built. I'm at this company what it is. She slammed her hands on the table. Why you played it safe with your precious Asian division? I took risks. I made the hard calls, like the call to tamper with Dad's medication. The room went dead silent. Sarah's face turned white. I don't know what you were talking about, she whispered, but her shaking hands betrayed her. I slid the medical report across the table. The FBI will be very interested in this. Honest, unless what? Her voice was barely audible. Resigned plied over. Your shares walk away now, and this report stays between us. Our eyes locked across the table, minus sisters, rivals, strangers. In that moment, I saw the scared little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. The teenager who taught me how to apply mascara. The woman who'd lost her way so completely. Sarah reached for the resignation papers with trembling fingers. Sometimes mercy is the cruelest revenge of all. The news of Sarah's voluntary resignation hit the business world like a bombshell. Family health concerns, the press release said. The irony made me sick. I sat in Dad's old office, minus my office now, minus watching the sun set over the city. The board had voted me in as CEO an hour ago, their earlier betrayal forgotten in their rush to align with the winning side. Funny how quickly loyalty shifts when survival is at stake, Miss Claire. Maria appeared at the door, clutching a worn leather journal. I found this while cleaning out Miss Sarah's room at the mansion. I think you should see it. It was Dad's personal diary. The last entry was dated 3 days before his death. Sarah came clean today. The embezzlement, the corporate espionage, all of it. She was crying, begging for forgiveness, said she'd fix everything if I gave her one more chance. I wanted to believe her. She's still my little girl. But then I saw her slip something into my evening tea. My own daughter Claire will find this. She always does figure everything out. I just hope she remembers that under all that anger and greed, Sarah is still her sister. My hand shook as I closed the journal. A soft knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Detective Morrison from the Financial Crimes Unit. We found Marcus, he said grimly, dead in his hotel room, apparent suicide. But, Hunt hesitated. Your sister's flight to the Cayman Islands was booked for tomorrow morning. First-class ticket, one way. The implications hit me like a punch to the gut. Sarah hadn't just accepted her defeat, minus she'd been planning her escape, and Marcus, her co-conspirator, had become a loose end. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You won, little sister, but ask yourself, did Dad really die from his cancer? Sweet dreams. As I stared at the message, a chill running down my spine. The medical report I'd held back only proved medication tampering. But what if there was more, Detective? I said slowly. I'd like to request an exhumation order for my father's body. Sometimes the truth is better left buried. But Sarah had forced my hand one last time. The game wasn't over. It was just entering a darker phase. The toxicology report landed on my desk exactly 1 month after Dad's exhumation. I'd been staring at the sealed envelope for an hour, my morning coffee growing cold. The board meeting starts in 20 minutes, my assistant reminded me gently, and the FBI agents are already here. I nodded, finally breaking the seal. The medical terms jumped out at me. Sustained arsenic exposure, deliberate administration, homicide. My phone rang. Sarah, I assume you got the results. Her voice was eerily calm. Bet you wish you'd taken that deal now, don't you? The one where I just walked away? Where are you? I kept my voice steady, signaling my assistant to alert the FBI. Oh, somewhere warm. You know what's funny? I actually didn't mean to kill him. She laughed, a hollow sound. I just wanted him sick enough to step down, weak enough to let me take control. But I guess I miscalculated the dosage. You are confessing to murder over the phone? Why not? You can't touch me here, and now you have to live with it. Minus knowing exactly what happened to Daddy dearest. That's worth losing the company for. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. Jack your offshore accounts, Sarah. A pause, the sound of typing, then a sharp intake of breath. What did you do? Remember Marcus's suicide note? The one conveniently blaming himself for everything. His fingerprints were a little too perfect. Sloppy work, sis. More typing, more panicked breathing, the money. Might it's all gone. Frozen, actually alone with evidence of your real location. Read out your warm paradise has an extradition treaty. The local authorities should be there any minute. As if on cue, I heard shouting in the background. Sarah's bitter laugh turned into something closer to a sob. You really are the smarter one, she whispered. Dad was right. Goodbye, Sarah. I hung up as the sounds of her arrest faded. Through my office window, I could see Dad's favorite spot in the garden where he used to teach us about business and integrity. I remembered she was my sister, Dad, I whispered to the empty room. That's why I made sure she'll serve her time somewhere. She can't hurt anyone else. The board was waiting, time to rebuild what Sarah had tried to destroy. Time to make Dad proud. Sometimes the hardest victories are the ones that break your heart. 1 year later, I stood in front of Dad's grave, fresh flowers in hand. The morning dew still clung to the grass, and the autumn air carried the first hint of winter. The company had not just survived, minus it had thrived. The Asian division I'd built was now our strongest asset, and employee morale had never been higher. Dad would have been proud of the turnaround. My phone buzzed, minus a news alert. Sarah's prison sentence had been finalized. 20 years for corporate fraud, embezzlement, and second-degree murder. The article included her mugshot. She looked older, the designer clothes and perfect makeup replaced by prison orange. Her eyes, though, were the same, minus still burning with that familiar intensity. Miss Claire Maria approached with an envelope. This arrived at the mansion this morning, from the Women's Correctional Facility. Inside was a single photograph, minus Sarah and me at age 6, dressed identically identically for our first day of school, on the back in Sarah's elegant handwriting. Remember when it was simple, I tucked the photo into my pocket, laying the flowers on Dad's grave. The morning sun caught the new inscription we'd added below his name. My phone buzzed again. The board was waiting for our morning meeting. We were voting on a new initiative minus a corporate ethics program named after Dad. Its first principle, family businesses should empower, not destroy. As I turned to leave, a young intern rushed up with quarterly reports. She reminded me of Sarah at that age, ambitious, eager, maybe a little too hungry for success. The numbers look great, she said breathlessly. We could push them even higher if we— Let's do it the right way, I interrupted gently. The slow way. Trust me, it's worth it. She nodded, looking slightly disappointed but thoughtful. Walking back to my car, I pulled out Sarah's photo one last time. We were smiling, holding hands, unaware of how life would tear us apart. It's still simple, Sarah, I whispered. We just forgot how to do it right. The company would survive. The family name would recover. But some wounds never fully heal. Might say just become part of who you are. I started the engine, heading toward the office and whatever challenges lay ahead. Sometimes the hardest part isn't winning the battle minus. It's living with the victory. But that's a lesson for another day.